Hello friends, welcome back to the Confident Law Classes Judicial Services. In this video, we are going to discuss the Epidemic Act. In fact, this is a series, Code to Current Concept, beneficial for the students of Indian polity, law, constitutional law, judicial services, and for current affairs as well. So here, we are going to study important provisions, salient features of Epidemics Act, National Disaster Management Act 2005, and in due course of time we are going to answer many questions. So in this, the very first thing that we are going to take up is the provisions of the Epidemics Act that has been invoked in this current scenario. I will be reading out important provisions from the Act itself, the key words, so that we can understand the exact connotation of these words. The background, the Epidemics Act was passed in 1897. At that time, Lord Elgin was the Viceroy of India. And it was in the context of the bubonic plague, because bubonic plague had become a pandemic then, and it was in order to handle that plague. This was a very dangerous contagious disease. Even India has suffered that in post-independent era. So it was in order to tackle the problem of bubonic plague that this law was made. It's a very old law now, and today it's still in force because of Article 372 of the Constitution of India, which says that all the laws that were in force before the adoption of the Constitution in 1950 would remain in force until repealed, modified or amended by a subsequent legislation by the Parliament. So till date, the Epidemics Act has not been repealed, so it's still in force, and therefore the government can take advantage of this. Primarily, this Epidemic Act empowers the state governments, but the same powers can be exercised by the union government also. How, that we will see later. So this section 2, we start from section 2 here. Section 2 empowers the state governments in case of an pandemic, that is, in case where a contagious disease is increasing in gargantuan proportions, in enormous proportions, then the state government has the power to make regulations, and the regulations have to be observed by the people. It can be for the entire population, or it can be for a class of persons only. So it can be made for a group of people also. These regulations can be made for the whole population. Like, for example, the state government may bar entry of anyone into the state territory. The state government may also bar the people of the state from coming out of their homes. The state government may impose a lockdown, as has been done in the recent past. The state government can make regulations for only specified areas. They can be called the hotspots, for a class of persons only, not for the entire population, but only for a class of persons also. The regulations can be made, and any regulation can be made that is relevant, that is necessary. So this relevance has to be there. So it cannot be a random regulation. It has to be a regulation which has a nexus with the purpose to be achieved. So the state government has the power to make regulations. The state government has the power to delegate the power to any public authority also, or to any person for the purpose of implementation and execution of the rules and regulations. Then the state government also has the power to make regulations regarding transport, regarding all types of carriers plying within the state. It can make regulations for the purpose of inspection of persons traveling by trains, by buses, or by any vehicular mode. It can also make regulations regarding segregation of the people, that is quarantine. This is written there in section 2 itself. It can also make regulations regarding temporary accommodation of people who are in the state and where there is a suspicion that such people are suffering from some contagious disease. So here, the state government can make regulations regarding traveling of persons. It can make regulations regarding inspection of persons traveling. So if there is a migration going on, displacement going on, if people are moving from one place to another, they can be stopped, they can be examined, they can be quarantined, they can be segregated, and temporary accommodation may also be provided to them. Now, Section 2A talks about the powers of the central government. Now, you will see here that central government has been given very few powers here. That was way back in 1897, and later on this was added by an amendment to this. So section 2A was added by way of amendment. It says that the central government has the power to make regulations regarding inspection of any ship or vessels, or regarding detention of any ship or vessels. So do you notice one thing? That the power of the central government given here in section 2A seems to be meager, seems to be very, very small, but that is not so. The reason behind this is that whatever the state government can do in accordance with the provision of Epidemics Act, the central authority also has the power to do the same things, rather more. The reason? The 7th schedule that divides powers between the union and the states has 3 lists: union list, concurrent list, and state list. Now in the concurrent list you would find item 26 talks about legal, medical, and other professions. Now you see that with respect to epidemics, the medical professions come into picture. Since the medical profession is related to epidemics and medical profession happens to be in the concurrent list, the central government can make rules, regulations, the parliament can make laws on the subject of professions like medical profession and other professions, right? So obviously there has to be a nexus here. Secondly, item number 24 clearly talks about prevention of the extension of contagious diseases from one state to another state. So item 24 of the concurrent list expressly mentions that the subject belongs to both the center as well as the state. So where the central government makes regulations on the subject of prevention of extension or expansion of contagious diseases from one state to another, there the states will have to make their own laws, or if there are pre-existing laws, they may have to modify so that both the laws can get along, so that both the laws do not conflict with each other. Otherwise, we know if there is a conflict, what would happen? Article 254 would apply, and the law or the rules, regulations, orders passed by the central government would prevail upon those of the state government. So we notice here that whatever the state governments can do under the Epidemics Act can be done by the central government also. So here where the lockdown has been imposed by the central government, this is very much within its jurisdiction. So this is all about the Epidemics Act here. Section 3 of Epidemics Act talks about penalty also. So whoever disobeys any provision of the Epidemics Act, or whoever disobeys the rules and regulations made by the government in this respect, or directives issued by the public servants, public authorities, because obviously the regulations made by the governments, respective governments, would be implemented by whom? They will be implemented by the authorities, the bureaucrats, the public servants. So where the public servants have passed any directives for the purpose of implementation of these provisions, these regulations, and such directives become law also. So they will have the force of law. If anyone violates these directives, then he shall be punished by virtue of section 188 of the Indian Penal Code. Section 188 of the Indian Penal Code says that whoever disobeys the orders of public servants, where the public servants are authorized to pass such orders, and if that disobedience causes danger to human life, then the punishment can go up to 6 month imprisonment, a fine of ₹1,000, or both. This is a bailable offense but a non-compoundable one. So obviously there will be a bail but no forgiveness. Here the person will be punished. So penalty has also been prescribed. This has to be read with section 188 Indian Penal Code. So this is all about the Epidemics Act and its relationship with the Indian Penal Code. In our next video, we will learn about the Disaster Management Act 2005. Thank you.